George Russell has problems. His biggest problem is that he's in the fastest car, but he's losing the championship to a teenager in the same team. I studied George Russell as a driver and as a person, and I've concluded that he can solve all of his problems by making a few changes. Starting right now. I'm Wimbo. Here's 3 seconds to leave a like. George Russell's problems started long before the 2026 season started. Maybe even before his Formula 1 career. But since this is a Formula 1 channel, let's stick with that. Russell is a driver from the Mercedes Junior program. As we all know, optics are a very important aspect of Toto Wolff's Mercedes AMG Petronas F1 team. I would say it's the most political and therefore most politically correct F1 team on the grid. Every bit of negative news about the team gets maneuvered and corrected in a way to either do damage control or put the blame on someone else. Toto Wolff likes to get involved in regulations as well, and for the 2014 and the 2026 seasons, this resulted in a dominant package. Mercedes has only one F1 team, unlike their enemies at Red Bull, so getting a Mercedes Junior in a seat is not easy. Luckily for Russell, when he won the F2 championship, Wolff had made a deal with Mercedes customer Williams Racing to give him a seat. Williams was the worst team at the time, and Lewis Hamilton was breaking records in the main team. And he didn't want Bottas replaced, as Bottas was a great teammate for Hamilton. So Russell had to wait, and wait, and wait. 3 long years in the worst team on the grid before Wolff finally disobeyed Hamilton's wishes and he put George Russell forward as the second driver at Mercedes. This was obviously done with the cameras of Drive to Survive nearby to make it as PR friendly as possible. Because optics are key at Mercedes. This is also why Russell didn't complain about being stuck at Williams so long. It would have looked bad on him if he had started bad-mouthing Mercedes or threatened to go elsewhere. Which he maybe should have done. Then he started beating Lewis Hamilton in the ground effect era. The regs didn't suit the 7-time world champion, and Russell made the best out of the situation. Mercedes wasn't very dominant in that rule set, so less pressure to perform. And when I talk about performing, Russell did a lot of performing in front of cameras. He became known as a diva who loved the attention of the cameras, thinking this fandom's admiration would help him move forward. Or perhaps it was to get some confirmation, as deep down he still has lots of insecurities. He scored points for the first time at Williams a few years earlier, and he was seen crying his eyes out in front of the cameras. Not behind closed doors, obviously. On track, he pretended to know the rulebook. And every time he drove into someone, a whole speech was given on why it was the other driver's fault. He fancied himself a job in the Grand Prix Drivers Association as a spokesperson on safety and such. Whether it was a silly pose after a win, or the intro of F1, weird quotes after winning a race, or getting out of his car when Joe crashed at Silverstone. He always thought he was the main character. When he organized a weird situation on track in Qatar that saw Verstappen lose a pole position, Russell walked up to the stewards with Verstappen laughing all the way, to then pull off one of the most dramatic performances in his career to see Max stripped of that pole position in the stewards room. And it worked! When Verstappen expressed his disgust about what he had seen in the stewards room, Russell asked Ted Kravitz from Sky Sports a week later to ask him a follow-up question so he could do a damning speech he rehearsed about Verstappen, pulling all kinds of unrelated stuff in from years ago, thinking it would get him respect. I can give many more examples of Russell trying very hard to be cool and relevant while actually being cringe. Despite all his efforts, he's not popular. The 2026 season started with Russell winning in Australia, and we were all afraid he would cruise to an easy championship with that great Mercedes package. The worst part for Russell was that he believed it himself as well. He walked around like he owned the place, had commentary about anyone who didn't like the regs, and he thought he had it made. But then Antonelli started winning, and winning, and winning. 5 races in a row. Russell had technical issues, but so did Antonelli. And then it became clear that Russell was missing pure pace to keep up with his young Italian teammate. A problem on the straight with the coding in the deployment system was fixed, but it didn't bring him closer to Antonelli. He's even being passed in the standings by Lewis Hamilton in a Ferrari, a slower car with their famous Ferrari strategy, and Hamilton who keeps getting penalties. So it's safe to say George Russell has issues. As much as I enjoyed seeing him suffer, at this point I think enough is enough. I also want a tight championship, and the best car to attack Antonelli is the one from the Mercedes team itself. So I'm going to give some fatherly advice to George Russell, using examples of the past, of drivers who did it right and drivers who did it wrong. Let me first start by saying that in motorsport, the biggest and most prestigious prize a racer can win is the Formula 1 Drivers' Championship. If a driver truly respects that trophy, he will do everything he possibly can to win that trophy in the pinnacle of motorsport. Is that clear? F optics. F fair play and ethical racing. F everyone else on the grid, and f your teammate, even if he's just a fetus. If we look at previous champions, we've seen Max Verstappen, who is the embodiment of that philosophy. Max respected and wanted that trophy so badly, nothing stopped him in 2021. Double vision after a 51G crash in Silverstone? I don't care, give me that thing. Tight space in Monza? I'll squeeze it in no matter what. A last lap shootout with a cramp in his calf? Give me that title. And as you all know, he won it. A champion before 2021 was Nico Rosberg, who was in the unfortunate position of being in the strongest car for many seasons with one of the strongest drivers ever in F1. Yes, I'm talking about Lewis Hamilton. Nico Rosberg had to push himself mentally and physically beyond his natural nice guy personality after years of being outscored by his teammate. He took every measure to beat Hamilton, even if it was only for one season. He stopped using the bike to train his legs and lost 1 kilo of muscle. He cut holes in his seat to reduce weight, shorter socks and a black helmet without paint, and even better gloves for more feel. And he hired a professor to work on his sleep. He slept separately from his wife to get the best sleep possible, going as far as waking in the middle of the night in Monaco to prevent jet lag for the following race. He held a strict diet and he stopped sharing setup info with the other side of the garage. On track, he never gave Hamilton an inch anymore, even if they crashed. Long story short, he won the title by just 5 points and he retired straight after. I respect the hell out of him for doing that, and he was dedicated to the championship. I feel that not doing everything is disrespectful to the sport. The drivers before Rosberg who were killers to get a title were Alonso and Hamilton. They fought each other so hard they both lost to Raikkonen, but neither of them gave a flying f*** about optics. I think you got the message here. If you respect the title, you will do whatever it takes to win. And this is where, for instance, Piastri and Norris were lacking last season. They ruined races by listening to these stupid papaya rules. And in the end, Norris only won by 2 points and Piastri finished third. How different could things have been if they both had said screw you to the team and taken glory for themselves? It left Piastri scratching his head in the end. And looking at Hungary this season, nothing has changed. At the moment, it looks like George Russell will be left scratching his head. He will lose the championship if he doesn't fix his pace. My advice for George Russell is to drop all of his activities that don't benefit his racing. A minimum of sponsor duties, a different training regimen, pressure on Mercedes to answer why his pace is lacking, drop all the optics, all the nonsense he does to show off, and no more Mr. Nice Guy. Drive Kimi off track at the start to gain a position. Use every single trick in the book to throw off his enemy. Throw everything you can at this possible title, because it might be the last opportunity you'll get. Next season, Mercedes might not be the strongest anymore. You might not even have that seat anymore. Don't be afraid to piss off Toto if he's not loyal to you. Toto Wolff is a beast as well, just in a different part of the sport. Take inspiration from Toto and the other champs I mentioned and fight like your life depends on it. Who cares if it makes you unpopular? You get booed already anyway, as we saw in Silverstone. Get boos from the crowd while holding the driver's title. That's what it's all about. Not how good you look without a shirt in front of a mirror, you silly cow. If you feel you're owed that trophy, George, go and f***ing get it. Subscribe if you enjoyed this video. For people who are already subscribed, YouTube has changed their algorithm again, so if you want to make sure you see all my videos, activate the notification button. Take care now. Doei doei.